Hey everybody, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to Against the Public for June 1st. I'm Dana Lane. Tough to, it's already a new month, man. It is flying. I think baseball season's flying. Pretty soon camps are going to be open and we're going to be talking about football, which is going to be exciting because we smashed football last year. But anyway, deal with the card that we have on Saturday. Today we're going to go through my top three Major League Baseball free plays for Saturday's card. We're going to wrap it up with a few numbers on betting on teams that seem to be on an offensive roll, and I'll kind of explain that to you a little bit later. After the show, please go to pickdawgz.com. I'll have my premium Major League Baseball plays locked and loaded, or I do already up there. Had to do something during the graduation party, so came down and make sure they were on the website. Also have side and total and tomorrow's Oilers Stars Game 5 clash. You could jump on my single plays or jump on my Major League Baseball 3-pack, just $49.99. And of course, every single play and 3-pack comes with our Pick Dawgz win guarantee. All Access membership gives you access to every play that I release, whether it's Major League Baseball, the NHL, swept both side and total yesterday in the NHL, and of course NBA postseason as well. And then you could get into, if you get a long-term pass, you can get right into the football season, and you could do so for the next 30 days for less than $11 a day, the next 90 days for less than $10 a day, or that annual all access pass that takes you right now from today all the way through to this time next year, and you could get that for just $3.56 a day. And just to give you an idea what we've done, and I don't mean to bore you with this stuff, but it is important to give you an idea of, and kind of put it in a nice little capsule and say, hey, look, this is what we have to offer, and if that's what you're looking for, I certainly want you all weekend long, and as long as you feel like I'm doing my job for you. Over the last 7 days, all access customers, 55% winners. To show even more consistency, we've had that same 55% winning percentage over the last 30 days as well. So every play that I release, 55% winners over the last 30 days. Specifically in the NBA, 64% winners over the last 7 days. In the NHL, absolutely smashing the NHL. 75% winners over the last 7 days. That ranks number one amongst all cappers. In Major League Baseball, 56.3% winners over the last 30 days. Just an example of what we can do together. Let's roll our sleeves up. Let's have an amazing weekend. Let's have an amazing month. Jump on board and give me some trust, and I guarantee, just give me a little bit of your trust. I know it's a cheesy line. Give me a little bit of your trust, and I will earn the rest. So let's have a great June. Okay, on to our free plays for Saturday, 3:07 Eastern Time. We'll start things off north of the border, 9:17, 9:18 Pittsburgh Pirates against the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays minus $1.06, 8 under minus 15. Mitch Keller against Yusei Kikuchi. If you follow this show for any length of time, you know how I feel about the Pirates. You know how I feel about the Pirates lineup. There is so many holes in this lineup that they cannot find any kind of consistency from one night to another. I mean, you had 4 shots the last night with a runner on second base, and you couldn't get anybody home. So I mean, that's Pirate baseball right now. But there are, let's be fair, there are some bright spots. McCutcheon's been on fire of late. Nick Gonzalez, a guy that came up earlier with Pittsburgh at another time, just looks like a completely different player right now. Really love Nick's game, love his confidence, just love his overall demeanor when he goes up to the plate. But when you got guys like Brian Reynolds, a guy that should be in that 70, 75 range. Am I being fair with that? You get a new contract, and now, you are being asked to carry the load a little bit. O'Neal Cruz, same thing. I don't. This is unpopular opinion, believe me, but O'Neal Cruz is a guy that I wish he was a first baseman. I do not like him at short at all, and I'm really starting to think Key Brian Hayes at third might be a little bit overrated. I know that's not a popular opinion. Believe me, I don't tell my friends in Pittsburgh about that, but I just feel like, I even feel more comfortable when Triolo's at third base. Anyway, Pirates have lost 9 straight games now against the Toronto Blue Jays, and in all 9 games they have failed to score more than 3 runs, despite constantly getting a runner on second base in extra innings. Mitch Keller, fantastic. Is a guy that really is starting to earn his money. 6-3 this year, 3.59 ERA in his last 4 starts, starting to give Ben Cherington what he paid for over the spring. His last 4 starts, Keller has earned 4 earned runs in 27 2/3 innings. That's a 1.30 ERA, and in that time, Keller's allowed just 21 hits. So fantastic out of Keller. I expect to get the same tomorrow. And as far as Kikuchi's numbers are real, Kikuchi's numbers are perfect for our play. He's 2-4 this year. He's got a 3.25 ERA, which I suspected meant very little run support. Well, bingo. Toronto scored just 3.18 runs per game when Kikuchi's on the mound. We know both teams' bullpen are in a shambles, but when I look at this number 8, this seems like an 8.5 to me. And I know it doesn't seem like that's that big of a deal, but sometimes these numbers, especially when we're looking at totals in baseball, they really tell me a story. 8 to me tells me the odds makers favor the under. 8 to me tells me that both of these starters are going to have tremendous success tomorrow, and I'm going to go under the 8 and lay the juice of a minus $1.15. Game number 2, 7:15 Eastern Time, 9:53, 9:54. Cincinnati Reds against the Chicago Cubs. Cubs minus 135, 7.5 over minus 15. Hunter Green against Justin Steele. We know what we're getting from Hunter Green. He's a guy who's going to give you 6 innings. He might give you 7 innings. We saw that against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's 3-2 on the season. He has a 3.06 ERA. And what I like to do with numbers like this is I like to determine, or not even numbers like this, any starting pitching. Are we trending up or are we trending down? I know what your numbers are now, but are they moving in a direction that's going to help me with this wager? And with Green, we would have to go back, 6 starts. And that would be even nitpicking because even in that 7-0 loss to the Philadelphia Phillies 6 starts ago, Green gave up 4 earned runs, 7 hits in 7 innings. The Reds were facing Ranger Suarez, so you weren't scoring off of him. I just didn't think that he was. He in that game, to me, I didn't think he had a chance. It was a bad situation for him, but I still didn't think he pitched all that poorly. In his last 8 games, Green's ERA is 2.44, which also tells me that he is trending up. And as far as Justin Steele is concerned, Steele's not had a great season. He had 1 good outing against the Milwaukee Brewers in his last start. 1 good outing to me does not erase what I've seen this year. I'm going to take Cincinnati plus the $1.14. And then finally, game 3, 10:05 Eastern Time, 9:79, 9:80. New York Yankees against the San Francisco Giants. Giants minus $1.21. 8 under minus 12. Clark Schmidt against Logan Webb. If Logan Webb could get some run support, another guy that needs run support, he could have at least 2 to 3 more wins this year. But the Giants have lost 4 games this year when Webb has allowed 3 runs or less. Those are games that the Giants should have won. The trend is starting to change with the Giants scoring 4 runs or more in 6 of his last 9 start. And I think that this is going to be, I think that if that happens in this game, I think that's going to be good enough to get him to W. Clark Schmidt, we know, is one of the best pitchers in baseball, which set me up a little bit for being surprised that the Giants were this big of a favor, especially after losing last night. I think the odds makers and myself, and I thought maybe I'll get some plus money here. No, we're going to have to lay a little bit. Odds makers and myself both think that the Giants are the side, so we're going to take San Francisco minus $1.22. And before we close the game, close the show, here's your handicapping tip for Saturday. And what I did was I examined how teams fared against in their next game after scoring 5 runs or more in back-to-back games. So kind of stay with me a little bit here. And I hear a lot of guys say, wow, this team is really hitting the ball well. They're really scoring a lot of runs. And I say, okay, well, how long does that actually last? Well, I just wanted, I didn't want to go crazy because I'd be here all night. But here's the numbers when teams have scored 5 runs or more in back-to-back games, and they're going into their third game. In 2024, obviously this season, 151 and 133. So those teams are 151 and 133. That's good for a win percentage of 532, but overall still not good enough to turn a profit. A little bit of a small loss, minus 0.69 units lost. In 2023, just to give you a wider variety or over a season, the number is 549 and 500 in that third game. 523 win percentage, but again, minus 39.91 units. And in 2022, 418 and 392. Again, good good enough for a winning percentage, 516, but also again, minus 40.50 units. So overall, over the last 3 seasons, when we're getting into that third game after teams have scored 5 runs or more back to back, records 118 and 1025, 522 win percentage, but you would have lost 81.11 units. So this is the tricky part about baseball. You will find a lot of trends, whether you're betting favorites or you're betting the home teams. You will, or home favorites, I guess is even a better one. You will find that in baseball, the public and the trends win a lot more than they lose. In this case, 52% is not a lot more, but it's still 83 games over 500. So that's a lot more. So now you have to determine whether, if I'm going to follow a trend or if I'm going to go against a trend, is it more important for me to get involved on the side where the win percentage tells me, hey, I got a 52% chance of winning this, and I have a 48% chance of losing this, so I'm going to go with the trend. But then you go over to the bankroll and you're like, oh boy, that bankroll doesn't look very good though. That's not good over the long haul. So this particular trend is going to give you about 3 to 4 games per day if you bet every game. So there are a lot of instances where you have teams that have scored 5 or more going into this game, so are going into a particular card. So what I would suggest to you is, if you're picking and choosing, and say what you want to do is, and of course this also factors in teams that are $2 favorites or teams that are $1.80 favorite. What you might want to do is you want to take that filter and you say, okay, I like the fact that I'm getting a little bit of an edge here. And again, not much of an edge. It's really hard to find a massive edge in the baseball after you've gone through a couple months of the season. But I'm gonna put more of a filter on it, and I'm gonna say, okay, I want teams that are minus $1.50 and $1.40, something like that. So you can take away those $2, and then you will still have a win percentage, but as far as the bankroll is concerned, you won't lose as much money. And it's very difficult. That's why these money line sports are probably the most difficult to manage, because it's about, yeah, I win the majority of the time, but then the money line really kind of takes my money away. So anyway, that's what I came up with. So the moral of the story is, if teams are on an offensive roll, they do win the majority of the games the next game. You just got to watch that bankroll and stay away from those high favorites, because that's where the 81 units loss comes from. What about, and I'll do this quick, what about teams that score 5 runs or more in 3 straight games? How do they do in the 4th game? Well, in 2024, their record is really good. 70 and 55, 56% win percentage, 3.9 units won. Really good so far. Unfortunately, you're going to have to watch that a little bit, because in 2023, your win percentage was just 53.8%, minus 12.90 units. In 2022, 55, about 56% again, but just a little bit over into the black at 0.21 units won. So overall, about 54.7% winners, minus 9.61 units over the last 3 seasons. So again, if you get a team that's on a roll of 5 runs or more in 3 straight games, the percentages are really good when you get into a fourth game, or at least better than they are when you've only done it back to back. So that averages out to, you'll find about one wager every 2 days. So that's a little bit better, because then you can be a little bit more selective. And so the moral of the story is, I would look for teams that are on an offensive roll of 5 runs or more over 3 straight games instead of 2, because it's too volatile with the 2 games, and as we see, there's a massive difference between money lost between that 1 game in the three games and then the 2 games. So there's a big difference. So hopefully you stuck with me. I could go through this. I could talk about this all night, but before we go, these are the teams that have been the best after back-to-back games, scoring 5 runs per game. Okay, got that? The best teams after scoring back-to-back 5 runs in that third game. First of all, Minnesota's 10-1 this season, 6.87 units won. Philadelphia 15-5 in that third game, 5.53 units won, and Baltimore's 9-2, 4.63 units won. The worst teams: Washington 1-8, minus 6.75, Seattle 1-6, minus 5.12 units, and Detroit 1-5, 3.52 units. So that's a little bit. You guys could, if you want me to research anything, I try to come up with some in-depth things that maybe you guys would enjoy. But if you want me to research anything, just drop me a comment on the YouTube channel, and I'll get to it. If I have the numbers and I can do it, I'll be more than happy to do it. If there's something that you need further explained, because sometimes my mind's working and my mouth's not going with it, but if there's something you need explained further, I'd be more than happy to do that. So anyway, I gotta go. It's been a long day. You guys know it's graduation day. A lot of people at my house. Very uncomfortable. All right, that does it for your Saturday free play and tips. Go to pickdawgz.com. Get involved with one of my many available packages, including my all-access pass that gives you every play that I release for one low price. Here's your Saturday recap. Pittsburgh, Toronto, under 8. Cincinnati, plus $1.14. And San Francisco, minus $1.22. That does it for today's show. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button. I'm Dana Lane. All the best to you and your wagers on Saturday.